Bowing down etc. to the servants of God and to their representation doesn't mean worshipping. So that for you to stop accusing others falsely which is so against God and or Jesus. As I've said, these that was mentioned above were not just meant for worshipping, or doing it in front of someone or something as not because it was done or meant for that someone or something. In the Bible in Old Testament or in New Testament many righteous people or people doing these to the righteous or servants and or anointed of God, and or righteous or anointed of God doing these to other righteous or servants and or anointed of God. Indeed I already posted almost all of that writings in the Bible in my post, but to this post, I will only mention such of those. Number 1, Genesis 48 verse 12, Joseph bowed down his face to the ground before Jacob, this is about reverence or great respect. Number 2, 2 Samuel 18 verse 28 Ahimaaz bowed down to the king while Ahimaaz praising the Lord. This is about, kneeling to anyone being revered and or praised and or glorified and praying for him and or her to the Lord. So as it is not bad to kneel down for anyone whether dead or alive as in reverence and praying for them to the Lord, as it was written always pray for the saints, so also it is not because you knelt in front of anyone and or anything then it is the one that you are worshipping, as I've said, it is to whom the mind or prayers were being meant and or focus. Number 3, 2 Chronicles 6 verse 13 Solomon knelt down in front of the people and pray, as I've said, it is not because you knelt in front of anyone and or anything then it is the one that you are worshipping, as I've said, it is to whom the mind or prayers were being meant and or focus. Number 4, Genesis 19 verse 1, Lot bowed down to the 2 angels. As I've said, if any messenger or God's anointed knows why somebody knelt down to him and or her, as if it is in revere or to praise or to glorify and as not to worship or as he and or she was not treated as God or God, then they will not resent or deter to it, but if they knows or in doubt that it is as to worship, then they deter and or sometimes they resent it. Number 5, Genesis 23 verse 7 Abraham bowed down to the people, in respect and as to make a vow and or agreement. Number 6, Genesis 27 verse 28, Isaac, whom God was recognized as God of Isaac, prays that the people and his relatives will bow down to Jacob, as in reverence. Number 7, 2 Kings 2 verse 14 These people bowed down to the ground to Elisha, as not because for Elisha but as because of thinking that the spirit of Elijah is with him. Elijah is the Lord who goes down to earth in a form of man, and Elijah is also the same John the Baptist as in one, as the Lord that came down in a form of man, and this was been testified by Jesus, so it is not bad to bow down to anyone as if you know the spirit of the Lord is with him and or her, as this was indeed what is in my mind before I have read this. Number 8, Proverbs 14 verse 19 Evildoers will bow down in the presence of the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. See, it is the will of God that the righteous and or the good must be honored and or revered and or glorify and or praise. As I've said in such case, evil respect the good and or righteous and or worship God, but as just they stay for their own way of living, although some evil do it as because they want to change for good. Number 9, Acts 10 verse 25 Cornelius fell at Peter's feet in reverence, but Peter didn't know why Cornelius fell at his feet as because Peter knows Cornelius is an unbeliever or belongs to pagan so. Peter thought that might Cornelius worshipping him so Peter deterred, but if the anointed of God knows the kneeling as not because as to worship so they welcome it. Those righteous and God's chosen and or anointed, as I've said they only resent it and or deter if somebody kneels in front of them, if they know it is about to worship them or if they are not sure why somebody kneeling in front of them. With this I wish those stupid or moron or with callous heart and or mind will learn from this. As to the very fact, Cornelius knows that worshipping only meant for God will not draws Cornelius to Jesus if God knows Cornelius worshipping an idol or anyone other than God. What I mean is that, Cornelius knows that kneeling to other as long as it is not meant for worship then it is not bad. With this it arrives, that the pagan even knows better the good than the other believers or other Christians, so shame on you who keep on persecuting the Roman Catholic Church, the church that was been established by God and or Jesus. It is as you are persecuting God and or Jesus, for you are persecuting his body. With this I wish those stupid or moron or with callous heart and or mind will learn from this. Number 10, Surah 2 verse 34, God himself let the angels to prostrate to Adam.